The following is a presentation of the Fairfax Network.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos. Welcome to World Tour Language Series. We have program number 6 of our Spanish series. Spanish program number 6. My name is Mrs. Ada. Me llamo Doña Ada. And as always, we have objectives for our series. And tonight's objectives are Mexico, an introduction, practice the greetings that we have learned already, more about the articles, Cosas Cotidianas, and possessives. And as always, I'd like to give a little bit of culture in our program. So let's go to visit a new country that we have added to our series, is Mexico. Mexico, notice the word Mexico, it has an X, and it's pronounced as a J, Mexico. This is a word that comes from the Indians, really. And when we think of Mexico, what do we think about? What comes to our mind when I think of Mexico? And you find this on page 9 of your workbook. You can do this activity at home. When I think of Mexico, what do I think in terms of people, of climate, of food, of clothing, and of place names? And if you would like to write about Mexico and what do you think about Mexico, you can write to the address that you saw on your screen and keep in touch with me. Meanwhile, let's go and visit Mexico's location. And I have a map that I'd like to share with you. We have the map of the location of Mexico, which is in Central America. And Mexico, as you see in the map, it's in the southern part of the United States. It has a river called Rio Grande, which is the boundary between U.S. and Mexico. It is also, Mexico, it is a republic with 31 states and a federal district. And it has a capital called Mexico City. But let's look again at this map and let's talk a little bit about what we see here. We have here Mexico in the center. The center of this country is the largest part of the region, and it's where most people live in this area. It also has a coastal plain where the Bay of Campeche is, as you can see on your right-hand side. Here there are a lot of forests, and it's a very, very dry area, and some parts are also tropical. We have also a little country here next to Mexico and Guatemala, which is called Belize. And Belize is a small country that Mayan Indians settled some many, many years ago. And this was claimed by Spain first and then by Great Britain until 1981. And of course, because of all this history, Belize's languages are English, Spanish, and also some Mayan language. And Belize is very close to the Caribbean Sea on the east. So let's go to the next map that I want to show you, because we're talking about cities, different cities of Mexico. We have here, let's start with the main city, which is Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City, Ciudad de Mexico. You see that big large dot there? That is the capital. And Ciudad de Mexico is one of the largest, or the largest city in the Western Hemisphere. These cities that you see all here, they started as Indian communities, but when the Spaniards took over, they were rebuilt, and most of them, they look like Spanish towns with their plaza, which is a public square, with their patios outside, or indoor patios as well. Now let's start with Monterrey. Now Monterrey is the center of the steel industry in Mexico. And let's follow to Puebla. Here the first Indians discovered how to grow plants, believe it or not. And it was the first to cultivate corn, avocados, beans, peppers, tomatoes, and squash. If we see Guadalajara, it's a city that is very much visited by tourists as well. And Ciudad Juárez is on the Mexican side of El Paso. I just wanted to give you a little overview of the different cities of Mexico. Now let's go to the next map. It is, to me, important that you look at this map because it brings some things that are happening, developing now on the news, that we see in the news. This map, it's the Ciudad de Mexico. You see it, it says the city, and you see a little place called Chiapas. Now, what has happened lately in Chiapas? Anybody knows? I'm sure you have heard that there has been some developments between the Mexican leaders and the Chiapas rebels, they call. Now, the Mexico City that you see here, Ciudad de Mexico, it was discovered by the Aztecs. In fact, the Aztecs were looking for a place that it was promised by their sun god, and when they decided that this was the city that they wanted to settle, they call it a name that I will go later on, perhaps in the next lesson we talk about it, because we're going to talk about the Indians. Now, Mexico City sits in a mountain valley. It's about 7,000 feet above sea level. So people who visit this part, if you are not used to it, you get kind of quizzy and dizzy when you come to this part of Mexico. Now that we have visited Mexico, and we will continue for the following lessons, a couple of lessons talking about Mexico. Remember that we finished Spain, España, and we are now following the next country. Now let's go to our practice and review. But before we go to reviews, I want to show you 5 new letters of the alphabet. I promised you I was going to go through almost every time 5 letters of the alphabet and get new vocabulary also. Let's go to N, nieve, which means snow. Yes. Ñ, riñón. See that ñ and that accent means kidney, a kidney. And O, octubre, October. P, parientes. Those are relatives. It's a little bit like parents right there. Parientes. Notice I pronounce all the letters. And then Q, chiquito. Chiquito. That Q-U, that U is silent. We have gone again. Do not forget, my dear students, chiquito. Now, chiquito is a term of endearment. And I want to show you, if you notice, chiquito ends in I-T-O. And chiquito means little, small, very small. Let's see the words, the letters I-T-O together and I-T-A. Well, we use that as a term of endearment in our Spanish language. I'm sure you have heard when we say Carlos, and then we say Carlitos. When we say Juana, and we say Juanita. And when we say chico, and we say chiquito. Pequeño, which is little, and we say pequeñito or pequeñita. So those are terms that it's good to know when you see them. Don't get confused. They mean exactly the same meaning as if you were not having them. It's just that we like to use those terms of endearment when we speak, especially if it's very familiar. If you're talking to somebody that you know or is your child, you say Carlitos, Mariita, Juanita, Luisita. Now, let's go to practice the greetings that we have in our objectives. We're trying to follow the objectives as close as possible, and let's see how we can practice the good morning again. Buenos días. All those letters, buenos días. And then good afternoon, buenas tardes. So when you enter your home, when you reach your home after school, you say buenas tardes. When you go to school in the morning, you say, buenos días, señora. Buenas tardes, mamá or papa. And when you are visiting in the evening, you say, buenas noches. Or when you're leaving the place, you say, buenas noches. You also say buenas noches when you're about to retire to go to sleep. You say, buenas noches. And those, you also accompany those buenas noches with your parents with a hug and a kiss, because we like to hug and kiss very much. So that's perfectly all right, and that's Spanish. Let's go to the next lesson, practice of our greetings. See you later. Hasta luego. That H is silent. Say it with me. Hasta luego. See you later. Till next time. Hasta la vista. That's another silent H. Hasta la vista. So you say hasta la vista. You have heard that, I'm sure. And then see you soon. Hasta pronto. That O, see, hasta pronto. Hasta pronto. Those are very useful phrases that you can use. Don't forget that you already know how to say your name, how to greet. And we are going, and some questions like, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? So you can have a little bit of conversation as you go along. And jot down all these vocabulary words that I add as I speak. Let's go to the workbook on page 38. And this lesson will continue from page 38 all the way to page 40. And let's start with articles. This is, I put in our objectives more about articles because this is an addition to what we have learned. A or a in English becomes in Spanish un, una. Now remember, we have those masculine and feminines, not unlike in English. So it's un, a for a masculine, and una for feminine gender. Let's go for an example, so that way you can understand it better. If we were saying the paper, el papel, and we want to use the indefinite article, which is what we call these, you say un papel, a paper. The paper is el papel, and a paper is un papel. Now, if we are practicing again with another of our vocabulary words, we will say the book, el libro, and a book, un libro. Notice that these words end in O. Of course, we'll find circumstances where the O's, when the letter does not end in O and it's a masculine, it's a process of learning and memorizing them. But for now, libro is masculine, so it's el, and un libro. Now let's go to the feminine article, indefinite article, and we're going to see the example that we have used, la pluma. We have used that before, and then we convert it into indefinite, una pluma. So it's the pen and a pen. And see, pluma ends in A, of course, is going to be feminine. So we use the feminine articles. Let's talk about plurals on these articles. How do we use them in plurals? It's not as difficult once you master the singular. All you have to do is add S to it. So un in plural becomes unos. Actually, you have to add an O in this one. Unos. And then una, just add the S, unas. So for the masculine, add OS, unos, and for the feminine, add an S, because it already has that A, unas. So let's see it better with an example, with a much more in-depth explanation here. Unos and unas means some. Some, unos, some, unas, which is the equivalent in English. Unos, unas means some. So let's see. Here it is the example. Let's see how we say some pens. Las plumas is the pens, and some pens, unas plumas. Unas plumas. So you see the AS in both. Unas plumas, the pens, or some pens rather. The top one is the pens. Let's go to another example, and this is in the masculine. Los papeles, unos papeles. Los papeles, some papers, unos papeles. Well, now that we have been introduced let's see how we can use it with these pictures. Let's go to the teacher. So it's una maestra. Muy bien, muy bien. Una maestra. A ver, let's go to the next one, which is the watch or the clock. Un reloj. Un reloj, because reloj, it's masculine in Spanish. Reloj. Un reloj. Of course, before we learned that it was el reloj, now it's un reloj. And let's go to another picture. Una pluma, a pen. Una pluma. Una pluma. And let's practice a plural one here. Let's say that we say some books. Yes, there it goes, some books. And we say unos libros. It's masculine. Unos libros. Now see, guess the next one. It might be a little difficult because we did not practice this today, this vocabulary. Let's see. How do you say notebooks? Some notebooks. Unos cuadernos. Unos cuadernos. Some notebooks. How about this one? This got to be easy. Let's see, try it. Very good. Muy bien, muy bien. Unas plumas. Unas plumas, because there are many. Unas plumas. Some pens. And this one, let's see if you remember it. Unos lápices. Unos lápices. Now you have to remember that accent on the A. It's a strong A. Lápices. Unos lápices. And this one. Maybe you don't remember this or you have come across this vocabulary. Una niña. It's a girl. Una niña. It has that ñ. Niña. And here comes a plural one. Let's see if you remember. We went through this the other day. Unas sillas. Remember we said las sillas? Well, now we say unas sillas. Many chairs. Some chairs. More than one. Some chairs. And this one, I believe is the last one. Practice. Un niño. Muy bien. Un niño, because it's masculine and so no, so we use un niño. Now that we have been introduced to the articles, indefinite articles, let's go to page 37 and let's talk about possessives. And we're going to go slowly on these. It's not very easy to absorb this. Page 37. In page 37, not only do we introduce the possessive, but we also have an activity of Felipe and Ana, and I would invite you to do it at home after you have studied possessives. Let's go. Mi, miss. Me and miss. That means my books, my pencils, me or miss. Your is tú or tus. Tu lápiz, tus lápices. I'm giving you the plural and I'm giving you the singular, or rather the singular and the plural. Now, let's go to the your, his, hers, or its. There it is, only two. You have so many. Su and sus. Now, su and sus, you can use it for formal you. Remember, we talk about polite you. You can use them when you talk about he or she. And in English, you have its that we don't have in Spanish. And all those you can replace su or sus, like su lápiz. That means your pencil, the pencil of you, sir or ma'am. Su lápiz or su lápiz, his pencil or her pencil, and then it's also it's used on these two. Let's go to our. Our has quite a complicated long list of things. It says nuestro. Now nuestro, our, if the item is or the thing is masculine. Nuestra, if the item is feminine, or what we're talking about is feminine. nuestros when it's masculine plural, and nuestras when it's feminine plural. Now let's read it together. Nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, nuestra. Say it again. Nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, nuestras. That means, all this means only one word in English, our. Our pencil, our book, our food. Now let's practice with all these possessives that we have seen. Let's start with my book, mi libro, and then my books, mis libros, mi libro, mis libros. See my pronunciation? I don't skip any letters. Let's go to your pen. Tu pluma and your pens. Tus plumas. Now the agreement between the possessive and the noun. See, tus is plural, plumas is plural, or vice versa. If plumas is plural, tus is plural. Now let's go to another one. Your paper, su papel, your papers, sus papeles, su papel, sus papeles. So again, we have that agreement between the plurals and the singulars. Remember, we talked about plurals the other day, how to add letters to make a noun plural. Just revise that, please. Now we go to nuestro lápiz, our pencil, and our pencils, nuestros lápices. Again, you see the plurals, how we make plurals out of lápiz, lápices, our lápiz, nuestro lápiz, and our pencils, nuestros lápices. And this word again did not lose the accent when it became plural, unlike some others. And then let's talk about our assignment, nuestra tarea, and nuestras tareas, or our schoolwork, nuestra tarea, nuestras tareas. We added an S, again, to make it plural. And let's go to our notebook. To your notebook. And in this term, your is the plural. When you have many yous together, many people, you say you. Sus cuadernos. And I wrote down again sus libretas because in many countries, such as Puerto Rico, we use libretas as cuadernos. And both words mean notebook, your notebook. Sus cuadernos, sus libretas. I just remember doing this because I had to send a letter to a person from another South American country, and I wrote libretas. And she asked me, what is libretas? I said, oh, cuadernos. So it's good to keep this in mind, okay? Two words meaning the same. Sus cuadernos, sus libretas. Now, I'm going to briefly go through contractions because these contractions we use with possessives. And we have de, el. When the word de and the el gets together, becomes del, and it means of the, something that belongs to something, del. And when it's de together with la, it does not change. It stays de la. And there's a reason for me to introduce this. Let's go again. Del and de la. Let's see an example because with examples we can understand it better. Let's say de plus el becomes del, and we say del estudiante. And what do you think that means? Del estudiante. Of the student, that belongs to the student, belonging. Del estudiante, of the student. Boy, of the student boy. A boy student. Del estudiante. Now, if it's the student, the item and the student is feminine, I'm getting confused here, bear with me, we say de la estudiante. And here it means the student is feminine. Something belongs to the student girl, so we say something belongs de la estudiante, es de la estudiante. Possessives are difficult to teach and are difficult to learn, so go very slowly on these. Now, if we have plural, we can say de los and de las. de los, de las. This de los takes place of, remember del, that we just talked about a little while ago? De los and de las. And very briefly, I'm going to go through an example. De las estudiantes. De las estudiantes. That means a group of girl students. Something that belongs to the group of students that are girls. De las estudiantes. And if it's boys, something that belongs to the boy students, we say de los estudiantes. De los estudiantes. We are coming back and forth, and this during our Spanish series. Some of these things, these items, are not very easy to absorb in one lesson, so we are going to come back and forth as we review and as we speak. I have to also let you know that we have some language facts that as we proceed in our lessons, every now and then I will bring to you, and you will be surprised at things that you see in a daily basis, and you realize, oh, they are Spanish. I didn't know I was speaking Spanish, and so forth. So as I said, if you want to practice and do the activities, and you want to write to me and tell me how you're doing, if you have any questions or anything, do write me, and I will keep in touch with you. I will try to answer as many questions as you wish, and I will also would like to hear ideas for the Spanish series. We have a lot of material to present to you. We have recipes. I hope you had followed some of the gazpacho recipe that we have done previously, and I hope you had tried it at home. And we have also craft. In fact, in the Mexico series, we will try to present a piñata craft to you from a person that had come and prepared it, and you can follow it. We have the recipe of how to do that piñata. So I would like to keep in touch with us and keep watching the series that we have prepared for you, and please do write to us also. I would love you to write to me and hear from you. Write to the address that you see always at the beginning of our program. At this time, I have to say adios, hasta mañana.